What's up, people? Rose Society. Relu. Sequel to the Young Elites. Now, the funny thing is, the Young Elites video was recorded whenever my last group of videos were recorded. I want to say that was like late March, early April. And when you see this video, this will be 2 weeks after I finished reading it. So yeah, it took me a little minute. I was on and off with reading it, but I did end up finishing it. Very good book. So this one, I left off last time saying it was really compelling, especially because you kind of don't like Adelina by the end. Now, this is where Marilu gets very good. So they start off, obviously, her and Violetta, her sister, are off in another country because they're fleeing from Kenetra, right? So they're looking for allies to help them basically go back and take over the country. End up hearing about the legend of this like magic kid Maggiano. End up running into him, right? Whole bunch of tricks ensued. The introduction to Maggiano is very good because instantly he's a likable character. Because the way you're introduced to him seems very innocent, and then you quickly figure out after the fact it's not very innocent. You know what I mean? Like he's a real trickster. He's real sly, and I think the defining character trait that he has is a physical one, and the fact that his eyes go from like dilated like normal eyes, like with a round iris when he's being sincere, and when he's being really focused and when he's being crafty, they're slitted like a cat. And I like that because I always like when characters have physical traits that match their value as a character. You know what I mean? Like their intangibles. They have like a tangible thing that matches their identity from their intangibles. I really like that, and I just like his dynamic with Adelina. It's very good because he is refreshing because he's a trickster, so he's not necessarily like a lawful good. He's more of like a chaotic neutral. He's a wild card, but you end up finding out he kind of is a good guy. You know what I mean? Like he's a wild card in the sense that he's never actually had to have any allegiances or any loyalty to anybody. He's kind of always been an outcast kind of guy, so he's kind of always just been lone wolf doing his thing. But now that he has a place that he fits in, he actually does come to care about the people that he's there with. You know what I mean? And it's nice. Because eventually him and Adelina end up having like a little romance thing where there's like a love triangle because Enzo dies at the end of the last book. They bring him back this time on basically a souped up zombie type shit. Like he has kind of like his own personality. He kind of has a soul type shit. Like, and you know her feelings for him are very strongly tied there. So there's like this mini love triangle thing. And I didn't like it at first because I was like, showing in a love triangle is kind of blah. Like why? Like why do we need that? But it does end up challenging her character, revealing more of his. And it just ends up, like, looking back on it, actually does work. Not because it's a love triangle, but because it's not really dependent on it being a feelings-based love triangle for it to be good for character development, for at least the two of them. I like it. I ended up liking it. I ended up liking him a lot. He's dope. For Adelina to put together basically a ragtag group of misfits, you know what I mean? Outcasts. It's her sister, both outcasts. We've seen that. Maggiano, outcast. He's kind of a lone wolf. And then the kid who she talked about in the last book, well, Raphael talked about in the last book, which was the kid that who couldn't control the storms that they kicked out. Bringing that, like setting that up in the last book, and then having him end up join her crew is kind of like a cliche type of thing, but it was like unexpected type of cliche because it's so offhandedly mentioned. You never really think it's gonna be brought up again. You know what I mean? So for it to actually be brought up and for you to be able to put the dots together once he actually uses his power, it was really good. I really like Marie Lu, dog. I think that as a writer, you know, she's writing teen books, so it's not something that's like super duper high level literature that just takes you hours to dissect, or you know, the techniques used are relatively baseline and simple and easy to digest and understand, especially if you are just like an avid reader. You're gonna pick up on the techniques, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think being able to pick up on the techniques is a sign of a good writer, because at the end of the day, you can implement these things, but to actually write them in a way that works, to be able to write a story and pace it and put it all together in a way that works and compels your audience is really important. And I think she does a really good job at it. I'm gonna get the Champion series again, but I read it when I was younger, and I remember thinking the same thing back then when I first read those. And just seeing her put it together in these books in a way that flows very well is really good. So I think the most important thing, though, is that in the end, you know, it pretty much works out in her favor in terms of her sitting on the throne of her country, all of this type of stuff, right? Being able to overtake the daggers, even though she brings Enzo back and Zio finds out the truth and kind of abandons her. You know, it's all... Marie Lu managed to make me kind of dislike her for fucking everything up in the last book, right? And she kept some of that, like, feel for the daggers themselves as like a familial type thing in this book. They're much less of a focus, but it's because you already know them, you know? They keep that familial feeling there, but you kind of start to root for Adelina again because of her new group being put together and just fitting each other. Like when they decided to become the Rose Society, you know, and all together, I remember putting the book down at that point, and I was like, I like this group because it's just like, they fit. You know what I mean? So you kind of start to root for her again, but then by the end, she makes you like, don't forget she's the villain here. You know what I mean? Like, don't forget she's unlikable. Don't forget and you feel bad for her because you kind of understand, not that you have sympathy for her plight, but you do understand, like, at least me, I understand why she's dark, why she's evil. I understand why she's plunged into madness. It doesn't excuse, like, threatening to kill your sister and driving away everybody that, you know, was ever there for you and tearing everybody down and killing so many different people and all in the name of achieving your goals. You know what I'm saying? Trying to rule through fear and all of this. Like, it doesn't justify being a villain or any of her heinous traits. But what it does is it makes you consider that she's a real person. It makes you consider that, like, anybody could have gone this route. It makes you consider that, like, she's here and there are things that she could choose to do different, but the fact that she's doing things the way that she is doing them and going about it, not that it's right or not that you agree or not that you even like it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to see it, but I think that's the point. You're not supposed to want to see it. You're not supposed to like it because she's the villain. You know what I mean? Like, it's her story. She's the protagonist, but our protagonist is the villain. You gotta want to see her lose, but at the same time, you kind of don't. And that mixed feeling is what I think has me like anxious to see the end, but wanting to kind of slide away from it for a little bit, because it's just like the end of this book could have been the end of the series. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many things that never get tied in, but I don't think that necessarily you have to answer every loose end for a series to be complete. And you could have ended it like the book ends. Hold on. The book ends like this. This is the last page. Or the last 2 pages. I slowly push myself onto my feet, wipe my face with my sleeve, and run trembling fingers on the monstrous, eyeless side of my face. My expression settles into something numb and hard. I turn to face the throne at the top of my steps. My illusions start to spark up again, and darkness blurs into the corner of my vision, leaving the throne as the only thing I can see. I walk up the steps towards it. Around me, ghosts of those I have once known fade in and out, those I have left behind, who left me. I make my way up each step. The whispers in my mind roar, filling every crevice, shoving out the light and letting the darkness flood in. This is good, Adelina. This is the best way. I have earned my revenge on everyone who hurt me. My father, who tortured me every day. I crushed his chest and his heart. Tearing, sick and twisted and mad, I took away his beloved, just as he took away mine. Raphael, who betrayed and manipulated me, I seized control of the prince he loves, and I made sure he watched his prince destroy in my name. And Violetta, darling, dearest sister, who turned her back when I needed her the most, I cast her out. I finally said everything to her that I wanted to say. I have hurt back. You've won, Adelina, the whispers say. I reached the throne. It's beautiful, an ornate structure of gold and silver and stone. Lying in the center of its cushion is Giuletta's former crown, heavyweight gems. I reach down and pick it up, admiring the jewels as they wink in the light, running my fingertips along their hard surfaces. I walk once around the throne, gripping the crown. This is mine. I lift the crown to my head, then put it on. It is heavy. Finally, I sit in the chair, then lean back and rest my arms on its side. How long ago it was when I used to crouch along the stair railings in my old home and fantasize about this, of wearing such a crown and looking down from my own throne. I lift my head high and stare out at the chamber. It is empty. This is what I have fought so hard for, what I sacrificed and bled so much for. This is everything I ever wanted. Revenge against my enemies for what they've done to me. And I achieved it. My revenge is complete. I force a smile onto my face. In the silence, I sit alone on my throne and eagerly wait for all the satisfaction and the triumph to hit me. I wait and wait and wait, but it doesn't come. Whoo! Fire! Fire! Fire, nigga! Fire! That's fire! Because you've gotten to know her to the point where it's like, that's kind of not what she wanted. She meant it when she said she just wanted love and acceptance and a place to be. And I think more so than just saying it, we saw it. Like, you know, she was sweet and kind to her sister before she left. So, like, yeah, there may have been some dark thoughts or some times where she thought some things about her sister that weren't that pleasant. But at the end of the day, we've all been there where we have bad thoughts about something sometimes. Sometimes even with the people you love and even with the people you think the world about, sometimes you don't always think that about them. But it's what you choose to do in despite of that. It's what you choose to believe about them in spite of that. It's what you choose to trust about them in spite of that. Because for every good moment, people will have bad moments, but there are some people where their good moments outweigh their bad moments. And sometimes that's illusion in our mind, sometimes it's reality, but either way, we pick which one we believe in the most, right? And so that's what it was with her sister. She picked and she chose her little sister to be somebody that she needed to protect, somebody that she needed to look after. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't want her to know that she was leaving. She tried to protect her in that way. You know what I mean? She just couldn't stand to be there with her father as he was going to sell her basically into slavery, basically into somebody else's home. And he was going to use her as a mistress and mistreat her the same way that her father had. But this time, it's not even like, not that her father treated her with any human decency, but I guess in a way, at least that's her father. You know what I'm saying? This is some complete stranger that just wants to use and abuse her. And she's not going to sit there and just allow that to happen. It's like, no, bro, I'll just figure out my own way. I'll figure out my own way. That's how her story started. It didn't start with trying to rule the country or the world. It didn't start like that. It didn't start with trying to get revenge. It started with trying not to get used and abused. That's what it was about. Then it was about, once she actually found the daggers and all of that, it was about trying to fit in somewhere. You know what I mean? Yes, it was like under the coax of she'll be kicked out, or maybe she'll even be executed like the Rain Kid if she can't learn to control her powers. But she also wanted to learn how to control her powers so she could be useful to them. So she could be useful to Ienzo. So she could be useful to Raphael, because she didn't feel like she had been useful. She had been feeling unuseful her whole life. And this was her one chance to become useful and to become useful to somebody else. That's what she wanted. She did want love and acceptance. She did want to belong somewhere. She did want these things. But they were stripped away from her, from her own choices sometimes other people's choices. Sometimes it wasn't anybody's choice. It was just her own inability to control her power, and the circumstances just led to what they did. I mean, Ienzo said it best when they had talked about the stuff that had happened at the palace and how she had killed him. Like, I don't know if it would have went the same way if she would have told the truth about Dante, but even that's supposed to tell you something. When she tells Ienzo, I'm the reason for your death, and he sits there and he says, hey, our powers are dangerous, and so is what we do. You know what I mean? Like, shit is gonna happen, bro. We know that when we step out onto a battlefield. You know what I mean? We know this. We know this when we step out into a battlefield. We know we're in trouble. We know our enemies are trouble. We know we're dangerous. We know each other are dangerous. We know they're dangerous. We know this. We know the dangers that come along with it. We understand these things. We have to understand them in order to be prepared for what we have to do, which is go to war. And see, he understands these things. She doesn't. He's fit for royalty and regalness. She isn't. It's the same way with his sister. His sister was more fit for it than Adelina was. But even she didn't live up to Ienzo. Ienzo is the manifestation of what it looked like to be real royalty, to what it looked like to be a true king, to be a true ruler. You know what I mean? Like, he was the one that was the standard setter. And she is everything the opposite of him. And so, like, opposites attracted in that way. But that's why she was always so admiring him, because he represented that. Like, the ruling part and wanting to get revenge on everybody came after she kept getting hurt and feeling useless and trying to come to grips with the fact that maybe I'm just evil, maybe I'm just dark. You know what I mean? Because her alignments are not dark within it of itself. Like, passion is not dark in and of itself. Ambition is not dark in and of itself. It just can be. You know what I mean? Like, and those are the things that ended up becoming that with her being there. But for her to say, I waited and I waited and I waited for that feeling of triumph and it never came, is because she didn't get what she really wanted. You know what I mean? She didn't become the person that she wanted to become. She hasn't lived the life that she wanted to live up to this point. But she is living the life that she chose. She has gotten the results that she chose. Because she chose to lie. She chose to manipulate. She chose to hide the truth. She chose to hide who she really was. She chose to hide who she is now. And that's why she's looking for that feeling of triumph, because there's still that mask there. But now, the mask is becoming her. And you saw it in the scene where she's sitting there and she says she looks in the mirror and she doesn't even recognize the girl that she did at the beginning. Remember, she was described as beautiful. That was the whole reason the nobleman even wanted her in the beginning of the first book. She is a beautiful girl, even with her imperfections. And now she's not. Now, the darkness of that mask has started to even affect her actual physical appearance. It's made her look like a totally different girl now. She looks different because she is different. You know what I mean? And it's because she's wore that mask for so long, it's just become part of who she was. She's lost herself. And that's the part where you're like, dang, I can understand how that would happen to anybody. But at the same time, it's like, dang, yeah, now she's lost herself. Now she's kind of dangerous. Now she kind of needs to be stopped almost. You kind of went from rooting for her to like, if you felt that at the end of the first book, you definitely feel at the end of the last one, where it's like, even Maggiano said it. He's like, I'm kind of scared of you. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, I'm more so scared of you. Like, yeah, I'm worried about you, and yeah, I care about you and this type of stuff from what I know about you, but I'm more so scared of you than anything. I'm scared for you. And that's how we gonna feel at the end of this book. It's the dichotomy between feelings, bro. It's really good, and you never really see it being told from the point of view where the villain is your protagonist. But she's not writing it in a way to where it's like you're supposed to feel sympathy for the villain. No, because I'm saying that because I try to look at things from all angles, and I really do this even in my real life, where like I look at people like that I know like this. But even with me, it's like by the end of both of these books, you just really don't like the girl. You kind of don't want her to succeed. You know what I'm saying? But you go back and forth because they're just naturally in following her story and writing her story. It's not about the sympathy. It's about the fact that like you see her on her journey, and there are people that are mistreating her and are doing wrong things by her, to where it's like those are the moments where you cheer for her and you root for her because you don't want to see her fail. But it's like then it comes to those moments where it's like now she's doing the wrongdoing. She's the one hurting people for no reason. She's the one trying to do anything and everything to achieve her own selfish goals. And it's like, okay, now that she's on the other foot and we don't really like you anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it goes back and forth throughout the whole story. And it's good. It's good. It hooks you. But like I said, that's why it's like, before I dive into that third book, bro, like this book was very meaty. Like, so I want to finish the trilogy, but I haven't decided if I want to go to like a smaller, more lighter tone book, like in between these two, or if I want to just dive into it yet. I'm going to figure it out. But I do like, this book series is awesome, and Marie-Lou is awesome. I'm glad I found it. So, yeah. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.